Mhm.
Okay. All right. So we are live.
Hi.
We were
Everything's good on your end, or did it freeze? Look like it's frozen your end.
okay.
Sounds like it's echoing on your end.
Okay.
Yeah, it's freezing on your end.
My Wi-Fi. Okay.
Yeah, your screen is completely froze. It's not moving at all. Hello?
How am I now?
Yeah, you sound good now. I don't know what was going on.
Yeah, I know it. Let me see. Let me move the other one. Okay. So here I am. I'm back.
Technical difficulty, that's all it is.
Mm-hmm. So can you see me? Am I good now?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. Yeah. That was yeah, I didn't have that issue before. But
Yeah, it was just kind of blurry a little
okay,
bit, but it was like your speech was slurred and all that. I mean, that happens. Technology's, that's the way it goes sometimes. You're froze again, I think. You going out again, Rhonda?
uh-huh.
Yeah, it seemed like it's slowing down on your end. Yeah, your end is totally slowing down or freezing.
Let me leave again. Can you see me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can see and hear you. You were just freezing, and then it went totally out, brought me to full screen, and brought me back again.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're gonna pray that this will. Do right this
Subside.
time.
Yep. Perfectly
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Must be good. It's
So,
gonna be a good session then. That's what it is.
mm-hmm.
Right.
Exactly. Yep. We're gonna go ahead and get started now. Hopefully, oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's starting to echo again.
Let's see what's happening here. I don't know why this is acting up today.
Right.
Mm-mm-mm. Okay. All right. So, Paula, you can
Well,
hear
should I
me?
call you Ra Ra or should I call you Rhonda? I like Ra Ra though. I think it's cute.
Whatever you feel like calling me.
I love
I
that
know
Ra
you
Ra.
met me as Rhonda, but
Stanley's wife.
right. Yeah. Um, yeah. So how with
Yeah, it's going back out again. Oh man, it's crazy. Yeah, you're froze again, Rhonda. You want to come back out? Turn your computer off and come back in? Yeah, it's a blank screen on your end.
Can you see me, Paula?
I can't see you yet. And it's like or your audio is kind of like as if it's slowing down. I can hear it twining.
See.
Are you totally shutting your computer off and bringing it back up, or how is that going?
Studio.
Yeah, I can't hear a word what you're saying.
Okay.
I can hear you
I'm
better now.
about to call.
Yeah, it froze again. It's almost even your audio as well as your visual is slowing down. Like you're froze right now.
Right.
Hey.
Hey, yeah, let me see. Hold on. Let me mute. Nope, I'm still going out. Um, see who this is. Hey, days I'm trying on. Let me see. So let me look on here and see what I'm looking like on Facebook. Mm. Yeah, we may have to go. Yeah, we're gonna have to.
Yeah, let me see if I'll work on my phone stream. It's gonna be a good one.
Mm-hmm. It is.
To hear your message and how you know.
Yeah.
But then you know, he get paid for a job he ain't even doing.
Yeah. Yeah. Is anybody here? Hello? Yeah. So try something, but we're gonna see. Hey, Janelle. Um, this going. So trying to thank you for the hearts, Janelle. I'm so glad you are here doing embracing your and I'm still and B, which will be you have to go straight to homework. So now thank you all. I do apologize for what is happening today. This has not happened before. So and if you do a different so yes, to come off. Hopefully we'll be back. You Paula, let's see.
See your audio or your visual.
Okay, so I gotta. Okay, let me see here.
Yay, it's working. Let's see if I can get my page out a little bit. Well, that sounds a whole lot better. All right, let's get my earplugs in. Oh yeah, your page is looking great now. All right.
Is it? So
It's echoing a little bit, but
can
you're in the show. Let's see. Need to see if it will. You're in the show. Uploading recording. Okay. Okay. You got testing. Testing 1, 2, 3.
you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, but you're froze. It's like you're not moving on your page. Oh, there you go.
Yeah. Okay. So do I need to go to my phone? Because I'm still on my.
Yeah, I
And
think, yeah, you probably need to go to your phone because I still hear that echoing, like you're going in and out, and your page is
yeah.
frozen. So you know how to do that, right? Go into your Safari, copy the link, and just copy it, and I'll bring you.
Okay. Come in. I'm gonna come out and come in on my phone.
Yeah. All right.
Hey.
Yay! We got liftoff. We got liftoff.
Woo!
You know, it's just the best shows always have these glitches. They just have, the big time movie producers in the back,
Yeah.
the control room. We don't have that yet. So
Yes, exactly. So here we are, beautiful people. I am back via phone. Daphne says, "Hi, Paula."
hey, Daphne, Queen.
Yay. Yes, she is the queen for sure.
Oh my God, Miss Fashionista. I,
Yes.
I I can't keep up with y'all ladies. It's like every time I saw y'all, we're like decked to the nines, and I'm over in teen ministry with an ugly T-shirt on. But that's okay. I was doing what I love to do. So
That's right. Exactly. Exactly. So, well, we're going to go ahead and get started because we've lost a lot of time already, but it's okay.
right.
So, my dear, we're going to start off. And Daphne, yeah, Daphne's blowing kisses.
Oh, she's so sweet,
Yes, we
man.
still got to get together for lunch, Daphne. We yeah, I ran into her one day when I was on my lunch break at work.
Oh,
So, but
really? Y'all
we'll
work in
catch
the
up,
same area,
Daphne.
right?
Yeah. So, okay, so Paula, so we were about to start on how we um met each other. So I met Paula. Again, welcome everybody to Style by God tonight. My guest, Paula Armstrong. Thank you for hanging in there as we went through these technical difficulties. Appreciate it. So, again, back to how we met. I met Paula Armstrong at my church. She attended med school, which is actually a Bible school at our church. She attended that along with my husband Stan. So that's how I met Paula, through her. So Paula, you were telling me earlier about how those days worked back in the day, and I remember because you were saying you all had a test every
Yeah,
week, right?
we had a test, and I'm sure a lot of our med school graduates would recollect. It's like as soon as 8:01 came, pull out your pages, and there was a test. It was every Saturday morning. Um, you would see some people get there, on time or ahead of time, and then some people were running in with the skin of their teeth before the school bell rang, kind of thing. But one thing about I've said before that our connection, even through med school, there were so many applicants, but there's the few kind of survived that particular discipline in their life.
Mhm.
Of course, I signed up because God said I didn't want to go. I'm like, what you have me sign up for? I don't even want to be in that stuff.
Yeah.
And but it was the bond that we had with everybody in the chapel days. And I keep mentioning this. It was just something that you can't duplicate it. Like we'll see each other 20, 30 years down the line. Because I know for me, it was I've been there like 35 years or 34 years. And it was just a bond. We're always going to be family. And like I said before, Stanley was the first person that I met with Anthony Jones and somebody else. I can't remember who the other guy was.
Mhm.
In the parking lot. It used to be the parking lot crew. And as a
Right.
Catholic white girl coming down the trenches into the chapel, I asked him, I said, where do I go? And, Stanley, of course, is like, well, you go in there through that door. But, it was funny because when we spoke, Rhonda, I just knew you as Stanley's wife. A lot of the wives, even though you had to put up with them, uh, it was like you were our other half that we never really got to talk to. We would always see you with him, but and then he had the
Mhm.
boys there too. And for me,
Right.
it was just like you were his other half. And of course, I've seen photographs of you styling and profiling in front of the big doors, the big glass doors, and doing your thing, styling and just your uniqueness. You can always tell when someone is conformative as far as style, and then there's just some people that are out of the box. They're in their own lane or their own uniqueness in a way. And
Right.
I definitely saw that with you. You were definitely unique in your style. You still are. Like I've got my long
Thank
gray
you.
hair, and you got your hat on, your glasses, and your necklace to match, all color coordinated. And as I always say, I'm gonna be like y'all when I grow up, when I'm walking the
Oh.
runway. So,
Thank you.
but
Yes, Veronica, I see your comments, dear. Thank you.
oh
Um,
well,
yeah, and Paula, yeah, so it's interesting that you mentioned all of that because it brings me back to when I first started attending World Changers and Stan and I met. It was like that's how I got to know everybody at the church because because
Stanley's a
Stanley was
mouthpiece. Stanley's a loud
yeah,
mouth
Stan
like
was
me.
yes,
We're
yeah,
we're
because I'm an
communicators,
introverted, he's extroverted, and so everybody knew Stan. So that's how I got to know everybody and become
right?
familiar with everybody. So
Right.
yeah. Hmm.
And of course,
So
I was the only white girl, so I stuck out like a sore thumb. I couldn't have got away with anything at World Change. I'm like, it was a white girl. The girl who has the bob. It was her. And they're like, well,
right, I
we don't
remember
have.
that Bob too. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, and it's
yeah.
crazy because I don't know. Oh yeah, it was one of my friends, Gloria. She was mentioning today. She said, "Girl, I love that bob," and I did too. But there's a time, you start. I don't really know because my hair probably 4 years ago was like chopped all off, but there was just a change in me that I don't know what it was. I just wanted my long hair back. You know,
Hmm.
I think I've grown it in the 55 years that I'm young. I've only grown my hair probably maybe 3 times as an adult, and one of them was to cut it to give it to cancer patients. So um,
Hmm.
I've never really had, but I love my hair, and I really feel like
Hmm.
that's it's almost like you were. I mean, and going into my story, as a young child, being called ugly all my life by my aunt. I never
Hmm.
looked in the mirror. I hated taking photographs. And it's crazy because I'm a photographer, and my dad was one too. That was his pastime. But the thing was, I just hated it. It was just like, Dad, hurry up and take the photograph. You're like irritating right now. Because I was very ashamed of what I looked like and who I was. I was called overweight. Just a lot of childhood trauma that you go through. And back then, you don't see it as trauma. You don't really see those wounds until you get as an adult. And for
Hmm.
me, I lost a lot of the weight, gained some of it back, but it's been a journey that I've been on of self discovery, like rediscovering the original design that God has for me.
Mm-hmm.
And when you know, I grew up in a culture where gray is not frowned upon, as that is American life. American life, gray is frowned upon. It's like, somebody would come in the salon. They're like, "What you getting done?" They're like, "Don't you see those three gray hairs?" And I'm like, I'm looking at the hair like I'm waiting on to get my hair done. I'm like, "What three gray hairs is she talking about?" You
Right.
know, it was such a devastation for them to see it. It was almost like they got psoriasis on their neck or something. It was that, heightened when they would come into the salon. But I think for me, I never grew up like that. So it was
Mm-hmm.
the pressure of people seeing the gray coming through, and then the pressure that they had. They were trying to put that on me. And that's just natural what you do when you're in an environment with other women. If they have an
Mm-hmm.
insecurity about curly hair, they want straight hair. Then if you have straight hair, you're just like, ugh, and they'll frown upon you because you naturally got straight hair.
Right.
And that's not the case for my hair now. It's actually got ringlets in it, like my mother. And it was
Mm-hmm.
something that I wanted God to change my hair as it grew longer. I wanted a ringlet, and I've got them now. But
Right.
going back to the stigma of gray hair, God was telling me one night to embrace your gray, and that's when I started letting it go out. And it's been 15 years now. And you don't really think about it. It's just the growing out part that bothers people. But what I realized, it was in correlation with my life itself, to embrace the gray areas of your life, and not we've got
Mm-hmm.
black and white areas, and that's what embracing the gray is about. We have black and white areas. One, you're going to college. Two, you're going to be an accountant. Three, you're going to be a doctor. Whatever that life, road that you're taking, it's
Right.
very definitive. It's very black and white.
Mm-hmm.
You can see it very plainly. But what about those gray areas of our life that we're still in the self discovery of who we are, what our personalities are like?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like you always say, "Oh, there's a gray area in the clause," or an accountant. Because it's like accountancy. There's some gray areas that you can get away with some stuff, and then it's just that kind of thing. And for me, I literally realized that I had to approach to the areas of my growth and areas of where I was evolving, which was the gray areas, and to
Mm-hmm.
embrace it,
Wow.
not to shun
That's
it, And the gray, of course, the G stood for the gift. God, when He designs you, I always tell people He has this big blueprint on His table, and He's looking at every intricate detail of you and your life, and He literally has everything in place, and then He breathes life into your mother's womb and into your lungs, and gives you life.
mm-hmm.
But that
Mm-hmm.
blueprint is still sitting in place for everything that He knows is going to happen in your life. It will come to pass because it's on the blueprint. You know,
Yes.
when you hand it over, to a builder, he knows every intricate detail. He knows where the windows are supposed to go, the doors, the plumbing, the insulation. But the thing about us and our blueprint, we don't see that. And so,
Mm-hmm.
with our relationship with God, it was like He gave us a gift. But then, because of life lessons, things that we've gone through, we have now gone into restoration period. And that's the journey of the gray areas. He's restoring you back to your original design. And it's not
Mm-hmm.
an easy path. It's a path that sometimes you're acting like, am I even saved? Like, do I even know the will of God?
Right.
Like, it doesn't look like
Right.
I know the will of God, that like things are happening.
Exactly.
Like, yeah, God's saying, oh, prosperity, yeah, but it's like I'm broke, or I've got $2 in the bank or whatever that is. But there's
Mm-hmm.
within God's restoration, He is restoring you back to your original design, and it
Right.
only comes from your life experiences. Because there's always a saying,
Mm-hmm.
a bought lesson is a good lesson. You learn from them bought lessons. And then of
Mm-hmm.
course the A stands for the anointing. Once you're restored back to your original design, you truly walk in your anointing and your gifts that God's given you. And it's so sweatless. Like some things that, areas that you thought that you were anointed in or you could do, it's nothing like when you're walking in the gift God gave you. It's so sweatless.
Mm-hmm.
You look back on it like, man, that was so easy, and He
Yeah.
gives you, and it's really, because He gives you that journey to pick up and drop off some things that you've learned in your life and you no longer need it. because I know everybody goes through this period of purging, and also knowing where your people are at, your tribe, or whatever you call it. The people that are around you,
Hmm.
that add on to your gifts. And you have to be very strategic on who those people are.
Yeah.
But also, the Y stands for yourself, your authentic self. God never changes his original design. We think that he's hard on us sometimes. Sometimes we're thinking, God, I'm going through this part of my personality too much. And I realize, even though I'm a big communicator. I mean, friends of mine tell me that I'm a master communicator, and I receive it. Like, if you see that, I receive it. But really, I'm very much a home bird. Like, I'm like an introvert. Like you were saying, introvert, and
Yeah.
it's almost like I got
Hmm.
a split. Well, I've got a split personality in the sense of when I'm around the teenagers, if I'm in the grocery store and I'm ministering to somebody. Like, even today,
Right.
one girl was going one way, and I said, "Oh, I thought you were going that way." And I said, "Well, y'all have a good day." And she said, "You too. You have a good day." That's me in the grocery store. But when I
Hmm.
come home, I'm home. I'm a home bird. Like, I love being at
Hmm.
home, you know.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
but I
Me
feel
too.
like God brings right. You're just like, I'm hibernating. I'm good. But
Yeah.
I, I,
Absolutely.
I yeah, like COVID when it hit, I was fine because I was like, I stay at the house anyway. But I
Absolutely.
think I think overall, embracing the gray, I started to define and know who I really was, but also I started to, I mean, I know everybody sees it across my socials. My face is so plastered everywhere. And even when I was talking to a good friend last night, Daphne, it was like, Daphne, I hated being in the mirror because my aunt used to tell me to get out of the mirror. You're ugly. And for me to put all that of me on all socials the way I do, it's
Hmm.
like it's so out of my element. It's so like not me, but it really is me because I have now come into the original design God planned for me.
Hmm.
To embrace the love that God has for me in my inner, in my spirit, in my life. But I'm learning to look at the only thing, if you asked me one thing that I loved about myself, it was my eyes. I love my eyes. I love that they're three shades of blue. People always say to me all the time, like, "Oh my God, look at your eyes." And I said, "I know, right? God picked them, like my dad picked them out." And they're like, "Your dad picked them out?" I said, God picked my eyes out because he knew that I would fall in love with them. And that was the only thing I could say on my whole body and my whole being, that I love my eyes. But now I'm starting to love Paula. Like, I love
Hmm.
seeing my hair. I love the filters on
Hmm.
social media. My love plump lips, which I don't have. I have typical white girl lips, which is no lips at all. And the filters give you all the makeup that you put on, and I'm loving on myself when I do those particular videos. But the most important thing is to
They're
teach
great
other women.
videos, by the way.
Thank you. Yeah,
I'm
one of
like, look at Paula.
Daphne was saying, like, she loves the music, and someone else said the same thing. They love the music I put with it because I
Yeah.
am a typically old school '80s '90s gal. I love the
Hmm.
'90s when we, done at the AU Center in '88, '89, just jammed some of the old songs, and that's what I put on my videos. And then I had Kirk Franklin on today, so. But to
Hmm.
me, it's a ministry to show people and to get women to realize and to embrace who they are and what God originally created them to be. Because everything flows out of that originality, that original plan. Like, I graduated college with an art degree. I never picked it up until 2 years ago when I had all my documentaries and my podcasts on the table. And it's crazy because the other day I drew out a piece of garment that I designed. And I haven't done that since college. Like, you dabble in it, even the photography. When I would go on my walks, I would start bringing out my iPhone and just taking pictures. And God will bring you back to your original design. He will show
Hmm.
you what He intended all along. Like, I will put people in their
What?
place in a minute. Hmm.
Yeah. What
You
was
so
what was the
turning
change for
point?
you? What was the turning point for you from coming from, like you were saying, your aunt was, always, saying negative things about you, but what was it? what was that moment that, you know, you said, wait, you know what? I'm embracing me. I'm gonna start seeing myself differently and not the way I've been
I
told from
think
childhood. Yeah.
right. I think even with being in the church house, the words that you speak, that's a big thing. As faith walkers, we speak what we want and not what we don't want.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't until I remember I was listening to this one girl from Australia, and it was talking about, again, faith, speaking what you want. And I had these, and I'm looking right at it. It's like an eraser board, and on it says, "I am beautiful." I never knew I was beautiful. I never knew I was beautiful. And I would speak that 2, 3 times a day in my room or when I would look at it. And it was just like, I am beautiful. But in your head, you're like, yeah, right. You know? But I had to keep speaking it to push out all the negative that I had for 20 years. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and by no means am I putting my aunt, she's dead now, but I'm not putting her on Front Street. But when
Yeah.
sometimes we're around adults who've got wounds, they indirectly put it on their children or their family members, and it's a disease and it's a wound. And by no means I feel like she was intentional, like she was going through some stuff. And so what happens is a lot of us are we're manufactured into thinking we're ugly. But it was looking at that thing every single time. And then there was a person, she redefines beauty in your clothes and photo shoots, but she works from the inside in. It's called the fierce mode. And I remember she said, Paula, I really want to do a photo shoot with you. And I think you've probably seen it where I was wearing red.
Mm-hmm.
I had never got in front of the camera, but I remember it was the turning point that day being in her bedroom. She was curling my hair, hadn't had my hair curled in so long. And she was putting professional makeup on, and she put some clothes on me. And it was the turning point. It was the point of where I'm worthy. I'm worthy to be told that I'm pretty. I'm worthy because I am pretty.
Yeah.
And I think all of the combination of the confessions, loving on yourself, going past what your head is telling you. You're not pretty. Look at you. You're 400 pounds. Like you got a crooked eye. You've got a crazy looking eyebrow. Whatever that is that you see on yourself. But you have to
Mm-hmm.
feed your mind to say, no, I'm beautiful.
Yeah.
And when I'm on the socials and people are looking at I don't even know these people. And they're like, oh my God, you're so beautiful. Or your hair is so beautiful. And I'm okay with that now because I know I'm beautiful. And
Mm-hmm.
when you hear certain songs and you relate it to yourself, you become so not arrogant, but you become so humble because God chose to love you. And that is my whole message of we can have so many superficial things, like, the fierce mode can be like, oh, you all dress people up. No, this lady works from people from the inside out because
Yeah.
you can put a piece of, and Rhonda, you've been in the industry. You see
Mm-hmm.
clothing on people, but they're so depleted or they're so arrogant.
Yeah.
But what happened to the humble part of God created you and he knew the life that he had for you, regardless if
Exactly.
you're 400 pounds or 100 pounds, or you're at your ideal weight or you want to lose weight. You
Mm-hmm.
want to change your eyebrow color to a different color, whatever that is,
Mm-hmm.
but you have to get to that point. You have to know your worth. And I feel like this past year was a turning point for me where I really learned my worth. I realized that I was not putting up with the same thing I put up with before, of how I was allowing people to just treat me a certain kind of way or speak into my life or be nosy or whatever that was. And I feel like I've came into my original plan, but going back to you've got to feed yourself the positive. You've got to get in your word. You've got to see what God designed you.
Yeah.
If you're lonely, you've got to go into the word. God, show me how to counteract this loneliness. Um, but I think about introverts, we really enjoy being by ourselves. 'Cause,
We
I
do.
mean, it's like
And you know what I
I'm.
always say about that? That it is nothing personal.
It's not. That's the whole
It's
point.
just the
It's
way you're
like
wired. It's nothing
yes,
personal
right.
at all. Because sometimes people misunderstand it and think that we don't want to be bothered. Or what. It's it's just in us. It's just
it's like your mind, especially when you're a creative as well as an introvert. You're so
hmm
creative, and then it's like your thought pattern is so different than other people's thought pattern.
yeah,
Like one of my best
yeah.
friends, like she'll vouch for it, but and she was probably the only person that ever would say this to me. She said, "Do you notice that you don't transition into another conversation? You just go with it." Like, and I have to kind of, oh, she's talking about dogs now, or oh, she's talking about makeup. It was like I wouldn't naturally transition from one topic to the other. I would just swing through it, you know. I never knew that about myself. So I feel like
Uh-huh.
relationships, whether they're platonic or they're best friends or your cousins, or I feel like when you truly get to an authentic relationship with a friend that God has for you, like she's my bestie, you know, and it's like she will tell me about myself in a minute. She said, "Have you noticed that you do this? Like, I don't think you realize, like, you don't even give me time to comment on our last subject, you know? I'm going on to the next
Mhm.
subject." And so I think introverts, our minds are constantly going. And
Yeah,
sometimes people are like, "Oh my God, can you switch that off?" But sometimes I think we switch it off when we
yeah,
get to be by ourselves, you know?
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but I feel in general, embracing your gray, what I want people to get from it, if your hair is turning gray, let it go. Like Frozen, let it go, let it go. Just let it go. It's like you will be so free when you do it. Like I realized that I didn't even look at my hair after I started letting it grow out. Because before it would be maybe an inch of gray and then the rest would be colored. And I'd be like,
hmm
oh, I gotta get to my hairdresser to get that gray away. But when you totally go gray, it's almost like you forget you have hair, you know?
Mm.
For me, it was like that.
hmm
Um, but I
What do you
do
mean?
want it's almost like you don't pay attention to the way the appearance of it, where there's a piece
Oh,
of gray and then the rest is burgundy.
oh,
You
okay.
know, when you go through that, you know, transition stage of letting your full hair grow out. See, it was
hmm
easy for me because my hair was so short; it grew out real quickly. But then as I
Yeah,
got longer, it's got different shades of gray in it. And I think
yeah.
it's definitely in correlation with who you are as a person. There's different
hmm
parts of you that you may not discover until you're 45, 55. And then when you're
Yeah.
75, 105, you'll discover another part of you because there's layers of us.
There's
And when
layers.
we take off those layers and we're discovering a whole new part of, you know, of who you are, you know.
Right.
Um, I,
It's
I
on.
think,
It's ongoing. Yeah.
right. And I think
That's
you,
the thing about being, not to cut you off,
oh, you're
but
fine.
it's just, yeah, you're bringing up something about how we're fearfully and wonderfully made. Is
Yeah,
that it's about, there's a, when it talks about being fearfully made, it's talking about there's a reverence for how God has made us, because like you
right.
said, there's layers. So there's always this evolving and discovery of
Exactly.
who we are, as God
Right,
has created us. So there are
right.
levels to it.
And
It's
there's
always
levels
because
because,
I'm at a place now where I'm like, wow, it's just like I'm still learning stuff
evolving.
and finding out stuff
Hmm.
about myself. You
Right,
know, yeah,
right.
it's like
And
it
the thing
doesn't.
is, if you look back on your life, you'll see that there was layers. Because anytime you go in the grocery store and you've got something in your, you know, the little handheld buggy thing that you carry, if you've got something heavy in there and you lift it off, you feel the weight of it. Oh, I've took off the can of pineapples, or I've took out 5 items, and this basket is lighter. And that's how it is. It's just like you're taking layers off and you're just rediscovering something that was hidden. And what happens is we
Mm,
hide a lot as women. We hide our
mm,
pain, we hide our relationships, the broken relationships that we've gone through, whether it's with our parents or our lovers or with our cousins or sisters. Um, and we don't really deal with it. We go into hiding of, well, I don't want someone to see this. I don't want someone to see that I've struggled with having my weight on and then having it taken off and then getting it put back on because of stress of life. You know, we don't talk about that because and this is something I learned. We don't create safe places to land. Like I always confess over a
mm.
friend of mine, I'm that person's safe place to land. And when you know that that person is not judgmental and they are your safe place to land, you are more apt to open up and say, I can say this without being judged. I can
Mhm.
expose this part of my personality, and
Mhm.
I won't feel like I'm rejected. Because it was something I said to a friend of mine when we were talking, and it was so powerful. Like, you know how God will give you something? And it was something I said to her. I said, I never give up on people, but I always give
Mhm.
them an opportunity to give up on me. And
Mhm.
that's a child wound, that you didn't feel like you were loved. That you give everybody an
Mhm.
opportunity to get rid of you, but you'll never get rid of them.
Mhm.
And
Wow.
I feel like as you go through those gray moments in your life, you start to unearth some jewels that God gives you, like some things that you
Yeah.
like. Like that right there, that was God. Like, I couldn't think, even though I'm a
Yeah.
writer, I'm a creative writer
Mhm.
and a creative person. I would never thought about that in a minute. And then when I said it to a friend of mine, she was like, "Man, that was good right there," because it was revelation. And the more
Mhm.
times that when we get into in relationships, whether it's our mom or our dad or cousin or boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, when we create that safe place for them to land with no judgment zone, like for real, no judgment zone. And
Yeah.
it takes
Yeah.
time, because for me, I've always been in a judgment zone because of the way I was raised. And so when I would always keep stuff to my heart, close to my heart, and I wouldn't let release it. But when I was having friends that I had a soft place to land, I was able to unearth and dig up some of them wounds that were so deep.
Mhm.
Like when I said that, I never give up on people, but I
Mhm.
always give them an opportunity to give up on me. I always give them an escape way, but I
Mhm.
don't I don't escape from people. And so you pile all those wounds on from other people, but you don't release
Yeah.
it. And I think it's so important as women and even men, because let's not leave the man out of it. A lot of times we want our man to be so strong and so, oh, Superman, and we don't want them to fail. But where's their safe place to land? Where's that
Mhm.
place where they can come out of their jobs or out of their workplaces or out of their careers, or even fellows that they hang with? Do they have a safe place to land? We don't.
Right.
We don't talk about that. We always shut up, like, oh man up. You're supposed to be doing this anyway. You're a man. But men cry too. Little boys cry too.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And
Right.
I
They
I
do.
feel like the evolving part is so important. Embracing your gray is all about all of that. Is embracing
Yeah.
every wound, every gray piece of like life that you're in, and to embrace it, to welcome it.
Yeah.
When you see the
I,
fire, you have a tendency to pull back, like when you see a fire. Or if you
mhm.
have a band-aid on, we have a tendency like just rip it off, like Stanley, just rip it off. But you're even apprehensive when he's coming near the band-aid, because you're like, don't, no, hold on, man, don't pull it off, because it's so
Mhm.
sensitive. We protected it. We have protected our hearts so much from wounds that we have created over the years, over the years, or even if we're on the earth, we have got a band-aid that we don't want nobody to touch. So we're perpetuating,
Mhm.
or we're allowing that wound to fester, and it comes out on every part of us. But if we embrace the,
Mhm.
the gift God gave us, the restoration period, the anointing that we have on our life, and also to just be your authentic self, that's when you'll start seeing the healing that God has for you, truly. Because I can stand today,
Good.
if all my accounts, all my social media accounts, on TikTok, if you're going to see Paula on a lot of them, and they'll be like, this girl right here, she on everyone. I said, guess what? You're going to be okay. If you don't like it, go to the next page, because I'm going to keep doing
Right.
what God wants me to do. You know, I'm going to be like
Yeah.
that person, like Paula, I've had people come to me about that. You really inspire me to let my hair grow out. I said, girl, do it. You'll be so free.
Mhm.
You will be so free,
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
feel like, um,
That's,
it's just God. You've got to have that relation. It's so cliche to say that, have a
yeah.
relationship with God. But God asks us to give up some stuff too that we're not willing to give up. And that's a part of the relationship with
Mhm.
God, because He has a better version of it. Or like the career that you're in.
He does.
Sometimes we're in careers. Like, I was in so many different careers through my life, but I feel like being a documentarian, a podcaster, a creative writer. I really truly believe this is my lane, and I
Mhm.
never would have thought that. I thought I was still going to be in the
Mhm.
dog world. I'm still in the dog world
Well,
though.
that's
I'm
about
still
the
the
layers, right?
huh
That's about the layers coming off.
the layers
The layers
and that's
being,
why right. That's why I was saying like the
yeah,
gift
because you,
stands for the latter two is the anointing and then the true self. When God brings you
hmm
through your restoration, the anointing comes up on you. And then after that, it's truly you're being yourself. Like, but for me, I was always, I don't want to ruffle no feathers. I don't want to be mean to anybody. I don't want to come across as being mean. But my true self now is, hey, I'm going to say what I have to say and I'm done. But it's in love. It's like I'm not conforming to what you knew before. Paula is not the same Paula
right,
as she was 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago. I'm just not.
yeah,
To
yeah,
tell me that I'm going to, when God was showing me my projects 2 years ago, especially Embracing the Gray, you know, to me it was just like, God, can't you get someone else to do it? Like, I know you're giving me the vision of it. I'll give it to someone else to do it. And I was literally trying to find people to do it. But God was like, no, this is your vision. This is what I want you to do. And if you truly look at it, you'll realize that, hey, that's what it is. You know, um, overall, I definitely believe the layers expose light. You know, I don't know if I've lost her, but I'm going to keep talking until she comes back on. But the layers are there to reveal who you are and who you were truly designed to be. But the layers will come off in certain times when you're ready for it. The layers will be removed on certain times. Um,
yeah,
God will not give you anything you can't handle. He already knows you can handle it. But sometimes we're so black and white, like black, I'm going to college at 20, 25, I'm going into my career, 35, I'm going to have a family. Whatever that is, that's your black moments, black and white
hmm
moments. But when God starts to pull off those layers of in the restoration period, you're going to see some ugly areas of your life, things that you've held on to. You know how you
yeah,
see that little thing of where Jesus is trying to get the child to give up her teddy bear, but he's got a bigger teddy bear behind him? And that's us in life. God is asking us to give up some stuff, things that we've been doing since we were in high school. It could be the way you approach people or how you talk or how you tackle a problem. You know, one thing I noticed last week, I was looking at how we approach failure. We are in such a winner's humanity, like in humans, we're always about winning. You go to class, you got tests to win. You're put in a category that you're in the A, B, or C percentile, you know. And then also you get on a team. You know, it could be a track and field, it could be basketball, football. You're wanting to win. But what happens with what we do is we become so win minded, we don't use the failures as tools to get better.
yeah,
We shun from the failures and um, we become some self-destructive at times because we're not
hmm
used to
hmm
like you beat yourself up and then your husband's like,
yeah,
it's not, Rhonda, it's not that serious.
yeah.
You just had your
It's not.
stopping was, it's not that serious. Like
Yeah,
your husband's like,
I
it's
had
not
to
that
learn that.
serious.
Yeah, I had to
Right,
learn that too. Cause
right,
I've been through that season where it was like really had to stop myself and pause and think about it because I wasn't handling failure well. And
right,
I had to really pause and say, wait a minute, this isn't healthy because this is exhausting. It's draining me out. It's bringing me down. I
right,
was like, I now realized that I had a mindset where I didn't consider, well, there's failure after failure. There's still opportunity.
right. But see,
You know,
maybe, and you know, I
there's still
was,
opportunity to recover. Yeah,
right. And sometimes as a
yeah,
child, Rhonda, you may have been exposed to get straight A's and you'll get allowance, or you're the better person if you get straight A's from school. So you were always maybe prone to that behavior. And when you were failing, you weren't going to get you weren't going to get that approval or that, you know, pat on the
hmm
back or a rah rah
hmm
moment. I was an
hmm
athlete in high school, and I still became an athlete even in adulthood. As a swimmer and as a, you know, I walk and stuff. And the thing was, I never wanted to fail. Like, and I feel like even in this period of my time, I've gained weight again. It was just, I felt like I was a failure, but I said, no, 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 we're not doing that. We're not doing
Right.
that, because the people that I
Yeah.
speak to about the weight
I had to
loss,
talk to myself like that. Yeah.
yeah, you got to pull back and say,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
I'm
You got
not
to pull
doing that.
back. Exactly. That's the key.
I've
You got to
gained the
pull
weight.
back. You got to pause and pull back and say, yeah,
Yeah,
and talk to yourself. Yeah,
right.
because yeah,
But
because
yeah,
failure's not
gosh,
the end.
no, it's not. And anything in life, whether it's a conversation with someone or how you dealt with a situation, some situations we've got ourselves in, you're like, yeah, you went off on the grocery person. Like, what's going on? What's really going on? And God will let you examine yourself. It wasn't the grocery store attendee. It was the fact that you didn't want to get in traffic, because you get anxiety when you get in traffic. There's much more to
Mm-hmm.
it, and even with
Mm-hmm.
you, it's like you had to pull yourself back and like, no, I'm not putting myself through this anxiety of
Right.
failing. Because again, a humanistic thing that we have been embedded as children, if you win, you get a candy bar. If you get a straight A, you're going to get $5 on a Friday. If you join the team, or if you get on the team, you're going to get a trophy at the end of it. We become so win minded and never think about failure. Failure is such a harsh reality to some of us, because we're overachievers. Um, Again, I don't think a lot of us really see it until we're in certain moments, or God starts to show us. But again, like even with you, Rhonda, how did you see it first? What was it that happened that made you look at it, and what was the steps that you took to get out of being in that mindset? It's like you went back out again. But again, I feel like we're always a work in progress, and everybody doesn't have it together. Sometimes people will be sitting in their $500,000 home, and
Acting
they
up.
don't have, you know, yeah, you went out again.
Yeah, when
Um,
I I'm back. What was
right.
your question?
The question was like, I know you noticed that something was going on with you, and you had to turn it around. Like that
Mm-hmm.
failure was starting to come. It was almost like it was coming down right at you. How did you recognize it? But also, what did you do to overcome it? You know? Okay, you went back out again. So it's one of those talks that we're going to be talking a little bit, and then when she comes back on, we'll answer the question with her. Um, But I feel like every one of us, if we sat down and looked at every area of our life, we'll see some things that happens. She's coming back in,
I'm
Miss Rah
back.
Rah.
Okay, so yeah, this is what was happening. I realized that it was bringing me down. It was pulling me down, and I was in a dark place.
Hmm.
And I was like, okay.
She went back out again. That's all right. This is a good session, and of course, this is what happens. Sometimes we have technical difficulty, but we're getting there. But some homework to do. I always give homework on my podcast, The Journey. Um, get a piece of paper. Write down some of the stuff that you're coming up against and examine it. I'm just talking as you're coming back in and out. It's like I'm
Okay,
still.
thank you.
So you're saying
Yeah,
it came up? Yeah, it's going back out again. But yeah, do your homework. If something comes up, examine it. How are you feeling in that moment? And what is the opposite of it? Yeah, you see certain things about your personality. It could be anything. The traffic annoys you. Why does it annoy you? And find out how are you going to counteract it? How are you going to overcome it? Um, Sometimes, people, your sister will be telling you they're going to come to pick you up, and she's not a person of her word. Find out where that root is. Find out why you do that. Why does it bother you so much? Where some other people, they don't care. As always, Rhonda, I'm just talking until you come back in. Um, because I noticed that when people say they would call me back and they didn't, it was nothing to do with that person at all. I just didn't feel important enough for them to take the time out to call me back. And it had nothing to do with them. And that was a lot of people that would do that. And when I decided that, I'm not going to let it bother me anymore or have any kind of weight to it, it stopped. I didn't care. It was like, you call back, you call back. If you don't, you don't. I'm on to the next project, or I'm on to the next phone call that I need to, handle. And when you start looking at, like, even now, we're having so many technical difficulties with this particular podcast or this live, and it's okay because things happen. But when you start getting upset about it because you're trying to have a great podcast, we've had a great podcast, a great, like, you know, styled by God. It's anointed regardless, even if it was an audio and not a video. You have to look at everything and not let it bother you. And sometimes it's so hard because it's right in front of your face. But you have to realize that I'm not going to let this bother me. Hey, we're having technical difficulty, but hey, it happens, you know. And we keep going on with it. You keep moving forward, you know. Um, but again, embracing your gray, you're going to see a lot of it. You're going to see a lot of projects that I have on the table coming from Embracing Your Gray, a documentary, a gallery, merchandise and all that good stuff. But more importantly, there will be, um, you know, it's almost like self-taught lessons that you'll go through to help you embrace your gray. What does it mean to embrace your gray? How do I start that in my life, Paula? And so, eventually there will be videos and classes set up to start doing it that way, because really, my gray hair is only one aspect of me. I have so many different other areas of my life that I excel in. And I'm starting to discover certain things I never knew I could do. And I'm embracing that part. And really, that's what the whole Embracing Your Gray is about. It's discovering, one, the gift. What is the gift that God, like He made in you? That's your gift. That's nobody's taking it from you. And then the restoration. You've got to go through the journey of life lessons. You've got to allow God to restore you back to your original design from your life experiences, from trial and error, from those failures that you're going through. Some of us have failures that are bigger than others. And then also to tap into the anointing, tap into God's, what He's, it's like the assignment, the anointing is so great. It's like He puts on His super on your natural. You will naturally be able to do something. And they'll be like, how do you do that? You do it so naturally. It's God's anointing on your gift. And then lastly is for yourself. It's for you to be your authentic self. God is bringing you back almost like full circle. And He's showing you, this is what I was always made you to do. This is what I authentically created you to do before you were even born. I mapped it out on the blueprint. And God uses your personality, He uses your gifts. And then sometimes you'll start discovering gifts that you always had, but you never saw it before. And so when you see that, you'll be able to embrace it, you know? Rhonda, are you in with us yet?
Hey.
Or, hey, come on, tell us how to do it. Tell us what you were saying, while I'm just talking just as you're leaving. And as you're coming back, I'm wanting you to, yep, it's went back out again. It's funny because I've never seen this before, but hey, it's a blessing. It's a blessing to have these platforms for women of all, sizes, shapes, nationalities, religious backgrounds, whether you're an atheist or, you're in a church. I really truly believe that each one of our gifts, that we pull them together and begin to embrace with each other, man, this world will be dynamic. It will be amazing, because we are supposed to be the light with each other and who we are. And a lot of times life has hit us some blows where we don't let our light shine because we don't think we're good enough. We'll look at someone's life and we're like, I want to be like her. I want to have long hair like her. I want to have, how she manages her personality. I want to have a personality like that. And we get so caught up in someone else. And really, God has put much more in you that we haven't saw before. And I really, truly believe that when you start to examine yourself and you start to look into those layers that you've allowed to stack up on your life, and you begin to allow God to release them and pull them off of you. There's one thing as an example, like my best friend, she always talks to me about I'm the analogy queen, but you know how when you have blankets and they're all piled on top of you, it's so heavy on you. But then when you get up in the morning, you push them off, you feel so lighthearted. And basically, that's what some of those wounds will feel like when they come off of you. You'll feel free. You'll feel like a different person. You'll see yourself. You'll begin to look at yourself in a different way, and you'll embrace it. You'll like literally. I embrace. Like I've never been on a video. This is my first because my podcast, The Journey, is audio. I haven't ventured to be video. I can if I wanted to. But for me, I enjoy being behind the mic and not being in front of everybody. And that's my involvement. I never wanted to be up in the front. I'd always do behind the scenes stuff. But I really believe that through where we are going in life and what we're embracing in our life and what we do wholeheartedly, we're going to see so many changes. You'll look back on it and you're like, man, you believe I used to not even want to talk on the mic? And that's how I was like 2 years ago. I had all these projects on the table. I would never thought I would be in a photo shoot. And look at God. He's transformed me over and he will do it to you. And there's only one thing you got to say is, yes, I'll do it, Lord. I'll do it. Show me how to do it. And before you know it, you'll be so transformed and it's like you're designed by God. You know, it's like you have your own style. Just like the show is called Styled by God. God knows what you love. He knows what you admire and what you are getting into. Like he knows you may like sports or you may like fashion or you may like being creative. You may be a songwriter. But to embrace that, go through those things and, see how that works. Again, I'm waiting for Rhonda to come back on. It seemed like I took over her show, and I promise you I haven't. She's doing a great job ministering to y'all, bringing different walks of life of women on her show to show you how you are styled by Him, by God. And you'll never forget the experiences when you look back on it. Again, I believe that, if you have any questions, pull them up. Rhonda will definitely get back to you. You always can contact me on my pages. Paula Armstrong 2020, Embrace by Gray, Embrace Your Gray on, all the different platforms on TikTok. And even on Facebook, I go by Paula Armstrong. And just reach out, ask a question, find out what is good for you, and we'd go from there. And again, I don't know if Rhonda is coming back on. I don't know if she's still having that, technical difficulty over in that end, but it was great to be on here. It was definitely a blessing. And what I'll do is I'm going to get off, and then we'll find out from Rhonda if she wants to come back on. I don't want to. I don't want to take over her show. You know. Okay. She's saying to me. Sorry. She's telling me once I'm finished, to go ahead and call her. But again, God bless you. Thank you for having me here. It was definitely an honor to be here and to talk about embracing your gray. Tune in on Saturdays to The Journey, which is my podcast. You can get it on Anchor or Spotify, and just enjoy. And I want to see you embrace your gray. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and I will talk to you later.